Starmer says it won't be mandatory and then admits if you don't comply you'll be hit with an £85 fine every time you need to prove who you are. And yes, we're on about digital ID. So what's happened? Well, there's a few clips from Keir Starmer that we need to play and go through, but I think it's good to explain the system that used to be in place in the UK and had been for many years. Previously, if you were looking for a job, the process was very simple. You'd go online, you'd find the job, or you'd go to the place where the job was being offered and you'd speak to them and say you get the job, congratulations. You then have to give them your passport or your driving license, and they need to basically just cross-reference it with you to make sure you are who you say you are. And then they need things like your national insurance number, whatever it might be, and then you can start working. It was pretty simple, and it was a system that for the most part worked. But in June of this year, the right to work policies were updated in the UK, meaning that basically if you look for a job now, your employer, your potential employer, has to basically do a right to work check on you through the government website. So the way this works is actually, to the government's credit, not many times I'll say that on this channel, but you as a person would generate a share code on your government login, and basically you can share that with the employer and they can see all of your right to work documents to prove you are who you say you are. In that case, there's no need for a passport or anything like that. Now, previously you were able to do the share code system, but now the share code system as of June this year has become the only way to do it. Effectively, digital ID links into your share code, and the same thing applies for your driving license. You'll have a share code for your driving license. So for example, say if you use your driving license to prove who you are, you can generate a share code for that. Bob's your uncle. Now, like I said, previously you used to be able to just use your passport or a form of ID. Now you have to use the share code system. Now this brings me back into what Keir Starmer's actually said. So let's just take a look.
For people who don't have a mobile phone, then this isn't mandatory.
So it's not mandatory for people that don't have a phone. Does that mean it's mandatory for people that do have a phone? What if we have a phone and just don't want to partake in this absolute dystopia? I think something like that needs a lot more clarification. He then says we can still use our passport or birth certificate, but then he kind of completely 180s on that.
So you don't have to have it. It will make your life easier if you want it, but you don't have to have it. We're consulting on what other forms of ID would help them. Again, it won't be mandatory. You can still use your passport or your birth certificate or your 3 bank accounts if you want, however many times. You can choose to pay £85 to a company to prove that you are who you are every time you need to.
Now, initially I took the stance that basically if you had a passport or like a birth certificate, you wouldn't need to pay the £85 fine. But if you actually watch it back, you might have to watch it back a couple of times, but you realise that with a passport and birth certificate, you still have to pay the £85 fine. Essentially, to get yourself on the right to work database, you can either do it yourself through the government website, which requires quite a lot of paperwork, things like passport, driving license, birth certificate. Then you need to apply for some forms and all of that. Or you can pay a third-party company. Third party is a bit loose because the government are involved in some of them, but we'll separate video. You can pay a third-party company to basically add you to the right to work database. So you send them a copy of your driving license, your passport, your birth certificate, and they can add you to the database so you can do your right to work checks. Effectively, you've got 2 options. Digital ID, where you can get your share code to send to your potential employer, or you've got the second option where you have to pay to verify who you are. Now, prior to June this year, you could just show your passport or driving license or birth certificate, and in some cases even utility bills, and employers would give you a job. Now the right to work checks have to involve the share code system for the government portal. So effectively, digital ID or pay £85 every time you have to prove who you are. Now, I've been talking to a few of you guys about this, and at first I was like, okay, well, if you get a job like once every 5 years, £85 every 5 years isn't the end of the world. But then you guys very, very quickly proved me wrong, and thank you. Because this share code isn't just needed for right to work. The share code system will be needed to, you ready for this? Apply for a driving license, to convert a provisional driving license to a full driving license, to rent a house, to buy a house, to open a bank account, to get a bank loan, to take out housing insurance, to take out business insurance, to register a business, to close a business, to file your accounts, plus many more things. So if you have to do a few of those things a year, you're talking hundreds of pounds a year for something that originally was free. Now, there's one more thing he says in this clip, and before I play that, just a very quick 15-second thank you to private internet access. If you're looking for a fantastic VPN that has one subscription that works across all of your devices and they don't keep any logs, make sure you check out Private Internet Access VPN at the link down below. You get yourselves 4 months free, 86% off, and it's the best way to support the channel. Or you can scan the QR code just up here. Right, let's talk about the last thing he said.
Or you can take the easy route, which is get digital ID.
Or you can take the easy route, which is to get a digital ID. Now, here's the thing about the term mandatory. Making it a legal requirement for someone to do something in the UK, the government are always going to struggle with that. They're always going to be met with resistance because terminology is very important. Basically, mandatory is being forced. And the UK government, they're smart enough to know that they can't proposition themselves in a position where they're basically forcing their citizens to do something that clearly they don't want to do. So what they do is they go the backdoor route with it. For example, with the Online Safety Act, they're now fining all the companies that are basically putting up any resistance. They're not trying to take these companies to court. They're trying to backdoor these companies. In the case of 4chan, charging them £20,000. They're trying to go the back route to basically financially hurt people, so they end up complying. The same thing applies with digital ID. A lot of people in the UK can't be paying £85 every time they need to prove their right to work or request some documents. Of course, that's not feasible, and that's a lot of money. So what they're doing is they're saying, no, don't be silly. We're not forcing you into digital ID. It's not mandatory. It's just going to cost you if you don't sign up to digital ID. A cost that previously wasn't there. Essentially, they're saying digital ID is going to save you the problem, but they created the problem. And this is the absolutely disgusting way the government operates with pretty much everything. And this isn't about party politics. This isn't about just Labour Party. This is all government parties and government in general operate in this way. They won't force dystopian regulation on us. It won't be forced on us in the traditional sense of you go to jail if you don't do it. No, they won't do that. What they'll do instead is backdoor it so it financially hurts us to the point where we're forced into comply. And this is a prime example with the Online Safety Act, digital ID, and a lot of the stuff that's happened over especially the past 4 to 6 months. A lot of the legislation that's coming into effect is basically from the attitude of plausible deniability. No, we didn't say it was mandatory. You can choose not to. And that's where they stop talking. It's very rare, like in the clip we've just seen, where they talk about if you don't comply, what happens. And in this case, it involves fines. With the digital ID stuff is changing on a very, very regular basis. We're seeing new comments being made all the time by various MPs. And now, of course, Keir Starmer's weighing in his thoughts on it too. But the problem here is that every single MP has absolutely no understanding of how the system's going to work, because what they did is they announced what their plans were before they figured out how they're going to do it. Now, in the process, we have mass confusion. We have incorrect statements being put out there, not just by politicians, but by people like myself and other people talking about the topic, because there hasn't been a clear plan of action for how, what, when, and who is implementing these technologies. I know we've spoke about this a little bit, especially over the past couple of days. A good example of this is the UK government have repeatedly said that the digital ID system is going to be fully developed, managed and processed in the UK. But we heard just the other day that the system had been outsourced to Romania, and that was never part of the plan. That was never told to the British public. And One Login isn't just the digital ID system that's going to be used in the future. It's a current system that people are using right now to check things like their benefits. And it has a massive gaping hole in other countries. And yes, the system was breached and the UK government didn't even know about it until the hackers told them about it.
The scandalously insecure nature of the One Login procedure. And I'm writing, I should tell the House, I'm writing to the National Audit Office to ask them to investigate it, because apart from the strategic weakness of having a single login, the government's handling of this has been a disaster. As early as 2022, the Information Assurance team responsible for ensuring the security of the system raised concerns that the system was being developed on unsecure workstations by contractors without the security clearance in Romania. When they ran a red team operation to try and see how secure it was, they broke into the system easily, would have been able to put malware in them, and they weren't even detected by the people running the system. So what will happen when this system comes into effect is the entire population's entire data will be open to malevolent actors, foreign nations, ransomware criminals, malevolent hackers.
Stuff like this makes me really, really frustrated with the British government. Like I've said in previous videos, I want to be proud of my country. I want to be proud of us being a noble and strong government, but we are just going completely the wrong way with this. We are not a pinnacle of the Western world anymore. We're not a pinnacle of freedom, personal growth, accelerating ourselves as a country into the future in a positive way. We are becoming more and more dystopian. And I know it's a word that gets thrown around. I know it's like a word that people like to tout, but There is no other way to describe the direction this country is heading. Thank you for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe, and check out private internet access at the link down below or at the QR code up here. You get yourselves 4 months free and 86% off. I shall see you all in the next video.